Good morning. I'm from a black church, so I'm gonna try that again. Good morning. I wrote some stuff, but then I get here and then I'm very quickly reminded of conversations that we're not having in our communities. So I'm apologizing in advance for anybody that is going to be offended by what I'm about to say. I just recently saw Killers of the Flower Moon. So shout out to my indigenous brothers and sisters, because this conversation that we're having around the widening of 35 just reminds me that as much as things change, they continue to stay the same. And for those of you who don't know, Killers of the Flower Moon is about the Osage indigenous folks in which our white brothers and sisters came in and completely wiped them out, took their land, took their money, took all the natural resources that they had. And not to criticize the young lady that just chanted, "This is our city," I think we have to remind ourselves that we're on the east side of 35, and that the east side of 35 was the side of the city that was given to black and brown folks because white folks did not want to integrate with black and brown people. So I think we have to be careful about the language we use, because when we're talking about this is our city, I would like to offer the idea, if you look in the crowd and you see the lack of black people, you see the lack of brown people, you see the lack of indigenous people, whose city actually is this? So I think we have to keep in mind that, yes, this conversation is very important, but we also have to keep in mind that we're speaking for people that are not in attendance, and they're not in attendance because of things like 35, which was built and constructed as a division, as a divider, from black and white, from rich and poor. It was used as a displacement tool for black and brown people. Right, so I really want us to understand how important this issue is. Because, watch this, all my black people make some noise. Thank all 14 of you for coming out. I point that out because we need to do better in making sure we're making connections with black and brown communities, the people that are going to be most affected by these type of decisions. Right, we're talking about, don't clap yet because you don't know where I'm going. Like, we're talking about displacement, but now we're talking about displacement of middle class, upper class, kinda white folks. Because if we were serious about displacement, if we were serious about making sure gentrification was not a systematic tool to keep erasing black and brown folks, we would have had this conversation 10, 20 years ago.
We did.
The east side is no longer for black and brown folks. Shout out to people like Bertha that has done everything she can to make sure we can have some culture and heritage of black, brown, and Chicano life in this city. Also, I just gotta say this, I really hope that we continue to show up and show out outside of today, because we see all the time, we say we care about these issues. These issues are important to us because they're affecting our neighbors. And then after this, we go to Sunday Fun Day, we watch the football game, we cheer for the Cowboys, and then we don't go to city council. Or we do very odd things like let Kirk Watson, who has proven time and time again that he did not run and get elected to serve the community. He ran to serve his friends and his cronies at the Capitol and the federal buildings. But yet and still, we let Kirk Watson come to our civil rights programs and use MLK and Cesar Chavez quotes. We still invite him into black and brown spaces, knowing that every decision he makes is yet another step to make sure that black and brown people have no footprint in this city. And to the elected officials that showed up today, I'm proud that you showed up. I hope you continue to develop and find some courage to fight Kirk Watson and stand up to him, and don't let him just bulldoze like he's trying to do with 35 black and brown communities. I don't know. I really want to give you all these talking points because I know that's what you come for. Austin does not like to have these very difficult conversations around race. That's why we continue to see black and brown people disappear. When are we going to get serious about making sure that Austin lives up to its false narrative that it's a diverse haven? I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. Austin has turned into the Atlanta for white people. And if you actually care about black and brown folks like you did in 2020, we know you all took a break and now you act like you care again. Let's make sure that you use your power and privilege to stand up and make sure that we don't do further displacement, that we don't further bulldoze over black and brown communities. Because in 1928, the same folks that are sitting on the dais made a deal that said, you know what, black and brown folks, you can have the east side. And what we did, because we're resilient people, we're the original people of the planet, another conversation for another time. We had the east side booming. It was beautiful. Murals, businesses, banks, schools. Again, I just watched Killers of the Flower Moon, and I'm sitting heavy with my indigenous folks that were so open-armed into our white brothers and sisters, and they came in and just erased them. And if we're not careful, this is going to be another step in the plan of people like Kirk Watson and Greg Abbott and Kim Paxton to make sure in the next 5 to 10 years there are no black and brown people in this city. So yes, let's chant, let's rah-rah, but let's make sure we understand the depth and the seriousness of what we're talking about. This is not something we can just simply lay down and let them do. Because your black neighbor, your black friends that you like to go out with, like you want to go to East 6 because that's the new hotspot for whatever reason, or you want to go to Rainey Street, which is a remembrance of black and brown neighborhoods that are once bullied over for your pleasure. At some point, we have to be serious about who we are as a city. And it's not this progressive liberal haven. It's not our city. Who is that our actually encompassing? I have to go to Pflugerville every day just to be around people that look like me. Because when I walk in Whistler's, I get funny looks. So again, the main talking point about this is it's just generally a bad idea. Not only is it killing our planet by widening this dumbass highway, not only is it going to displace more black and brown and poor people, not only is it going to add to the already bad traffic that we had by shutting down this terrible highway for like a decade, it's just a bad idea. It is not centered around the idea of community and people. And again, and I know I'm over time, but I implore you all to stand up to people like Kirk Watson. Make sure that the people you voted for in all these districts are actually having your interests and your neighbor's interests at heart. Don't let them just come and say the talking points. Record them and say, do you remember on November 5th that you said this thing? What are you actually doing about it? Don't let Kirk Watson and Jesus Garza just run and play Monopoly with the city. This is not a game. People are losing their legacy, their heritage, and their culture because we allow them. Because we, the people, don't actually believe in our own power. Just like they put an event decades ago, 900,000 of people went and made sure that the expansion of 35 didn't happen. Are we ready to do that if necessary? '97 have been fighting. Thank you so much, ma'am. I don't know, Austin. I have a very love-hate relationship with this city because I see in moments, even right now, we're talking about all the genocides that are happening. Well, not all of them. We're only talking about one. We skipped Congo and Sudan and Yemen. And I can probably estimate why. Or in 2020, we put up black squares and said, oh, I'm with you now. 6 months later, we went back to the same cycle of who we were. Austin used to be like 40% black. Now today it's about 5%. You know why that is? It's because we allow the power structures to do it. You show up here, but you don't show up to city council. We show up here singing to the choir, but we don't show up to Travis County courts. We show up here, but every other year we don't show up to the Capitol in mass, in community. We're not willing to struggle together. So thank you for having me. I know I've been a huge Debbie Downer. But again, I want to make sure that my black, my brown, my indigenous, and my working class white folks can afford to live in this city to make sure we can keep it weird, not just keep it white. Thank you.